Blockchain. I don't know what comes to your mind when you hear that, but it's a concept that is slowly but surely getting to Ugandans. Of course, tethered to that is cryptocurrency, and when many of you hear that, you think of Bitcoin. It is something that has raised a couple of questions, some of which we hopefully will get answers to tonight. There's a conference that's coming up, and we are hoping this again will shed light on a couple of things. Tonight, joining me to help us understand one or two things, I have with me Larry Chris Betts. He's the Chief Security Officer of Bitland Global US. Good evening.
How are you today?
Very well, thank you. We're also joined by Kwame Rugunda. I was about to say Dr. Kwame Rugunda. Maybe you should do that sometime. He's the chairman of the Blockchain Association of Uganda. Good evening, Kwame.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Let me start with you. You're the chairperson of the Blockchain Association of Uganda. And we are having a conference here. What's it about?
So the conference is the largest conference on the continent on blockchain technology. And we'll have about 700 people gathered here from 23 different countries, gathered to address the role of blockchain technology in Africa's transformation. And so it's an extremely exciting event, the first of its kind happening in Africa. It's worth mentioning that the largest conference on blockchain in the world just happened in New York last week. And this week, the largest conference on blockchain in Africa is happening here in Kampala. Okay, and one of our guests is Mr. Chris Bates, who's a guest speaker at the event this week.
Larry, when many people hear blockchain, they think of cryptocurrency and they think of Bitcoin. Of course, that's a very small component of blockchain, but many people don't know that. And here in Uganda, they're receiving it with a bit of care, if you like. What's the difference? How can you explain to an ordinary person what blockchain is vis-a-vis cryptocurrency and, for that matter, Bitcoin?
Perfect. So when you're talking about cryptocurrency, a lot of people are already familiar with mobile money. So cryptocurrency would be more like a form of mobile money that is more focused on encryption and protecting the identity of the user versus blockchain, which is more about validating and verifying transactions, whether it be transferring money or transferring a piece of property. So blockchain is really focused on tracking the transactions, and the cryptocurrency is actually focused on the actual currency or tokens.
Kwame, I understand that you folks are hoping that government will take up a proposal where blockchain can be used in the administration of land. You know, there's issues there, paper and so on. Talk to us about that and how that you hope will revolutionize the way land operations happen in this country.
Actually, governments world over are already embracing blockchain for all sorts of use cases.
Ours is yet to.
Ours is catching on and catching on quickly. Now, on land in particular, it's good that Chris is here because this is his exact focus. But I'd like to mention that at least 4 governments in Africa are already using blockchain for their land registry systems. Ghana, Rwanda, Mauritius, and Kenya is as well looking into it.
I want the average person, Kwame, watching us to understand what you're talking about. When you say blockchain used for land, how is that? There's the land probe that's ongoing, and many people are crying foul. Their land has been grabbed and so on, and this seems like a solution, but how?
Now, I'm going to ask the expert. The global expert is here, so I'll ask him to respond to this question.
Okay. So what we try to do is create a digitally verified system that shows who the property owner is, the transactions that have taken place, and how much the property has been transacted for. So this creates a record of everything that's associated with a piece of property, so no one can come in and say they own a piece of property without actually having the access to the digital identity. So if you have a piece of paper, someone could easily forge that and get a fake government stamp or something. But if the government has an actual digital registry that is distributed over the citizens' hardware, if the citizens are the ones that are actually storing the information, then it makes it near impossible for a single person to come in and falsify or commit fraud within a system like that.
Chris, in Uganda there's a word, bafere. Kwame is smiling, he knows about that word. If you haven't encountered it, you will. Fraud, and people have mastered the art of reaping where they have not sown. And so you're talking about a digital something where there's records and so on, where it's going to be safe. But you see, there's people who have mastered the art of hacking, and so there's concerns out there. How safe is this information? You're saying it's very safe, but this is somebody feeding this information therein. Somebody can, from wherever, access and tinker with information, can't they?
Well, absolutely. Nothing is ever going to be 100% safe. But the issue is, if you make something much more difficult to hack, then that becomes less likely of a target. So if it takes a tremendous amount of time or a tremendous amount of energy, that becomes less likely of a target. So this is where, when you have the information of the land registry distributed on a bunch of different computers, a hacker would have to hack all of the computers, or the majority of the computers involved, which would be extremely difficult. Hacking one computer isn't that difficult, but if you have an entire network of computers that are supporting the storage of the data, then that hacker is going to have a much more difficult time getting to change any of the information within that, which is why blockchains are the most secure thing that a government could use right now.
Kwame, let's wrap it up this way. I know that this will be a small element of the conference, but it's a question that lingers in the minds of many Ugandans. Cryptocurrency. Of course, when they say that, they hear a lot about Bitcoin. And then Ugandans are still ambivalent. They're trying to understand this concept. It sounds good, but you know, somebody was asking me the other day that, wait a minute, I give somebody money and then a computer makes for me more money, and it didn't make sense to them, because according to them, you make money in two ways: selling a product, selling a service. And so when they hear this, they are confused. Okay. How are they able to make money? If you can explain this small concept in a minute.
So first of all, money has various forms. And if you think about the history of money, what before we know now as paper money, there was an age when we're using a gold standard, there was an age when we're using cowrie shells and so on. So gradually over time, money has become, it has evolved. And now we're in an age where cashless economies are converting to cashless economies. So the concept of digital money is not something new. That's point number one. Point number two, cryptography is an extremely safe, secure, complex way of transferring value, okay? So cryptocurrency is currency that is developed using cryptographic means. And this is just, what I've just explained is a tip of the iceberg of what we will be discussing at the conference. So I'd like to extend an invitation to you and to every other Ugandan to join us at this event at Serena.
When is it happening again?
On Wednesday and Thursday.
Wednesday and Thursday. Okay, hopefully you'll have answers to the many questions that people do have. Thank you, Kwame Rugunda and Larry Bates, for talking to us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll now take a quick break. NTV Tonight continues shortly.